Hey Star Wars fans, today we're going to be talking about the three rarest Star Wars vehicles of all time. I'm going to give an honorable mention to some that are more rare than others as far as like vintage Star Wars vehicles go, which would be the Power of the Force vehicles that came out, the Ewoks Battle Wagon and the Skiff. Those are pretty rare. And then, of course, the droids line of vehicles. Those ones like the A-Wing, the ATL Interceptor, and the other one. Yeah, there's three of them. Those ones are pretty rare. I think there was only, probably about 100,000 of those made, maybe more. But these vehicles, three vehicles I'm about to talk about, are well under that number in production. And let's start with the third rarest vehicle of all time has to be the HasLab's Razor Crest. Let's take a look at that first. Now here is the HasLab Razor Crest. Only about 30,000 of these were made. So anywhere between 20 and 30,000 of these were made, which is a really small number as far as speaking about Star Wars produced vehicles go. Because of course back in the vintage days they were making hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of the vehicles. And this is how I have mine all set up. It comes with different cool panels that kind of pop off here and there, and I have actually a little Jawas kind of scheming like they're taking the parts away, so that's pretty funny. But I've got the box up here. It's got the HasLab stamp on it. It's kind of behind some of my other stuff I have stacked up here. But yeah, this is the third rarest Star Wars vehicle of all time. Now let's move on to number 2. All right, so number 2 on the list of the rarest Star Wars vehicles of all time is Jabba's Sailbar. It's a katana. This was another HasLab project, and only around 10,000 of these vehicles were made. Of course, this one came with a carded yak face, which came on a Power of the Force card with the coin, which makes that one of the rarest, basically vintage collection figures to date. But this thing came with all sorts of cool features, all sorts of cool setups. None of the figures were included besides the yak face, but they just kind of give you an example of the kind of stuff you'll be looking at once you open this up. I actually never opened this up fully. I did open up one of the flaps just to make sure that the yak face was in there, but I do have this one up for sale, so I'm going to be parting with this very shortly. So I definitely wanted to give you a look at this before I got rid of it. But yeah, only about 10,000 of these were made, so that makes this the second rarest Star Wars vehicle of all time. But let's get to number 1, because this one's really exciting. So here we have it. The rarest produced Star Wars vehicle of all time. Even though this one isn't exactly official Hasbro or Kenner, this was actually made in an Asian toy factory, just like the original Star Wars figures. But this was commissioned by a guy named Mark Poon. He does stuff, basically he reproduces unproduced Star Wars figures that were just never made and never done. But this thing is basically as legit as it gets, and it's actually based off the original prototype of this vehicle that was made but never made in mass production. So he basically got this thing as close to the original prototype as he possibly could. And yeah, this thing is amazing, and there's only going to be maybe 500 of these made tops in the world. So if you're a hardcore Star Wars collector and you don't have one of these, you're definitely missing a part of your collection. They do have alternatives to this on eBay that you can find that they're like, cheaply done prototypes. They're only about $100. They're 3D printed, I believe, but they're just nowhere near in the quality. We're going to actually open this one up so I can show you a little bit closer, because this thing is amazing. So let's check it out. All right, so here we have the White Witch. It came with instructions as well, so let's open those up and check that out. So, instructions. Fire the missile. And it's supposed to glue some magnets on. And assemble the landing skid. And then here's the old school, like Hasbro style instructions. We really do care. Kenner. So that's pretty cool. I'm not going to do any final assembly, like I'm not going to do any of the gluing on or screwing in yet. I'll save that for, unfortunately, who I have to pass this thing on to, because I can't afford to keep it. But yeah, let's open it up and see. Anyways, Hopefully we can do this without breaking anything. I haven't taken this thing out of the styrofoam yet. So there it is, out of the styrofoam. It actually is quite heavy. I'm going to grab the canopy. Canopy kind of plugs it into the top. Where is it? This side. Not too sure. Just kind of set it on there like so for now. And of course, here's the missiles and the landing strut, and then some of the hardware that you need to finish it. But yeah, it seems to be a pretty cool vehicle. And looks like there's a port here for R2D2 to maybe pop in and out of. I'm not quite sure how that works. Let's see if you can figure that out without quite sure how that's supposed to work, but you know. So the figure's supposed to go. R2 is supposed to be able to sit in there. And then you got Thal Jobin and big lug here. You're supposed to be able to fit Georgia Sat in there. Thal Jobin. And then you put the canopy parts on there like that. And there we go. So here is, oh, I guess the thing lowers when you put R2D2 in there, but yeah, so here it is. The White Witch, officially the rarest Star Wars vehicle to ever be made. Made in Asian toy factory. And basically molded off of the original prototype. So if you look at the original prototype, this thing looks exactly like the original prototype. And it's pretty insane. But yeah, I'm pretty impressed. I mean, this thing's heavy. It's got to be like at least
about
10 pounds.
5 pounds.
Yeah, it ain't no joke. This thing is insane. But yeah, there it is. Rarest Star Wars vehicle of all time.